Well. This is a poetic, really creative, theatric, artistic, linguistic lecture expression. Those are a lot of words, a lot of terms. The only word I know is integrity. Greetings in the best of salutations. I greet to meet. Meet me, man. Meet me. I believe in reasoning from the premise of conversation. In meeting from the premise of conversation, we learn to reason with progression. And when you reason with progression, you become a forward thinker. Because the past is just a reference point, not a place of residence. Maybe you hear something in the background, but that's the theatrics. I was listening to a sister who sung a song, and when she opened her mouth, boy, did she sound beautiful. That was Billie Holiday. The poem that I'm going to share is coming from my book, Through the Depths of My Soul. I will give you a little background on this particular poem or this particular book. Bam. That's it. That's that. That's a wrap. You're welcome. I wrote this book while coming up from what is called the Washington, D.C. area. I was struggling financially. I just got out of what is called a shelter. I very rarely tell my story. Prior to me going into this particular shelter, it was said that I tried to introduce to them a program that will help the men overcome their challenges. And yet, I am faced with a challenge after I have created a transitional facility to house those who are dealing with all types of setbacks. And I found myself in a setback, not to mention that all must pay attention, for everything is your teacher. And when I got to this place, the people there, one of the head officials there, said that they were waiting on me. Seemed some kind of mystical, strange. That they would say that they had everything set up, the bed set up for me, as if they knew I was coming. Strange. So I got there, and while I was there, I tried to make connections with people who were in position that I thought could help and I could be of some assistance to them in my state, you know, my financial living condition. I mean, my financial condition and my living arrangements. I interacted with people who come and do the Bible study, shared my views, and my views were accepted and they were rejected because, they are looking at me as one that is living in possibly in a particular shelter, that living arrangement, that living environment. It does not necessarily mean that they are thinking that way, but that's the way that I perceive as if it's so. But in my limited perception, got to get one's feelings out of the way. Yes. So I still had my pride and my dignity and my integrity. Tried to talk to other officials who were preaching because went and been preaching, what they call the word or something. And I conclude the only word I know is integrity. This Christian gospel, or the gospel is Protestant, or this book from the English Bible, word from the English Bible. And I'm not saying that just to, like I'm downplaying anything. You accept it as that is so, then those are your feelings. And remember, we must not take anything that anyone says personal. That's rule of engagement number 7. Because the way a person feels, that is their reality. That necessarily not means your reality. So don't become a victim of needless suffering. Yes. So hey, I tried to reach out to him and see if I could, excel and express myself, to the people. And I thought that they could see one that is among them. Huh? Oh, hypocrites, boy, these people hypocritical hypocrites. That I could come out and express myself in a manner way that be of some assistance. But yet, we know that say God said He is the best of planners. So, needless to say, in that environment, I came across some people who were coming in teaching, other guys were teaching, and I know that I have been teaching, but yet I'm sitting there listening to these guys teaching. To me, what they teaching, it doesn't, it cannot, I don't think is measuring up in their genuineness. You know what I'm saying? So that's fine. Then all of a sudden, I came across another individual. As I came across another individual, then him and we started talking, and I introduced him to a business plan that I had that I could be of some assistance and get myself out of the situation that I'm presently presently in that was in at that particular time. So we met, and he had a little place where he was working at, another a place for people to stay. And I came and I introduced it to him, and he tried to present it to someone, and someone said, well, like, how can a guy in my situation can come up with a plan such as this? And they didn't have the means nor the ways to even put forth this idea, or these ideas that I was having in what I call the maturation process, and where people become more understanding, more tolerant, less temperamental, could have temperaments, confidence, and respect. And at the end of them, wanted to produce social credibility. The result is to produce readdress social diversity. When one's inspiration comes down, one aspiration goes up, and the other is to revive social coherency. And the end result of one is to replenish social continuity. The end result of one is to reclaim social solidarity. Social solidarity. Whereas our clients become more understanding, they become more tolerant, less display more temperance, less temperamental, display more confidence, be more respectful. That was a proven record that clients who came through the transitional program that I had prior to me going into this, what is called a shelter. It's touching for me to say that. So, due to my habits, my decisions, yes, my habits and my decisions. So, the guy said to me as we talked, one of the guys that was an official that works at another uh, shelter, he said, "Man, I'm surprised that all this information and knowledge that you haven't lost your mind." This is what he said to me. Okay, so, and while I was there in this particular shelter, I made contact with other brothers that were there, And while I made contact with other brothers that was there, I created a community forum panel discussion outside of that facility, but brought another brother with me to play the pre participant and a part of that. I just did not stop. Yes. So I wind up getting other folks to come on and play a part of this panel discussion. I think it was drugs, drama, dreams, and determination, or race, class, and gender, and stereotypical views they perpetuate. I did two panel discussions, by the way, or created to put on two panel discussions. So we did it at the African American Heritage Muslim Museum. If I'm saying it, Culture Museum, if I'm saying it right. And that was in Washington D.C. And we did that, and it went well. And I came across a gentleman whom I cannot overlook, a guy named Mr. Horton, is a military guy. Uh, and we was talking about a regiment. You got to have a regiment, get up and do something, keep that regiment. And I kept that regiment. I remember one instance though, while being in this facility, one of the instances that I would share, that I was at a coffee house, and I don't worry about necessarily any names, and they called the police and said I was just in there and without, just sitting there, because I don't know if they deemed me to be living in a shelter or what they call homeless is what, but needless to say, I was the one that had the money, and that was gave the other gentleman the money to buy his drink while sitting in the coffee house. So I said, okay, well, I moved on, no lawsuit, none of this and that. Why? So life goes on. So this is coming to this book, for I'm writing of this book, these poems. So as I got out of there, I stayed out one night and indulging and having good fun from the shelter, and they wouldn't let me in, and I stood and I slept on the outside, and this big old rat jumped over me, and I stood up. I slept standing up, and then I said something must be done now. So I think I've gotten word that if I can recall, I may be missing some points, that the brother who I met, Mr. Horton, he had gotten his voucher, he had got his place, and I made another contact with a gentleman in the Baltimore area whom I have met before, as I have gave lectures there at the facility that he was running. Um, no, that didn't transpire. That didn't transpire. No, I'm moving ahead. Well, that did happen, but that happened later on. But what happened is that I talked to a guy named Mr. Brown, and I was executive director of a men's transition facility before going into this shelter, and I told him my situation. Man, why you didn't let me know, man? And he had a place for me to stay because he was working on an apartment, and he had a place for me to stay. But I have helped him get his life together, so now he like almost returned the favor. He helped me, and that was a beautiful thing. So that was in southeast. That was another southeast. That was in southeast, and not to mention had this nonprofit organization that I still running. You know what I'm saying? I'm still paying taxes, still keeping it going. You know what I'm saying? I didn't mention that. Still keeping it going. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to make connections with people that will support the cause when it comes to my experience, what I have endured and what I am still enduring, and the environment in which I'm still being engaged and entertaining with, and yet at the same time still assisting and helping people along the way. Huh? That's, hey, man. So, but this book here, Through the Depths of My Soul, I wrote this while I was on Eden Place. It's called The Dome. Also, I will mention the name. I really mention names, but I mention these names because they're close in proximity. They're nobody far off that I haven't met personally. Like people call names celebrities that they don't even know. So the gentleman name I was calling and still persistent, being persistent, because then I go back to Mr. Horton because I told Mr. Horton, and Mr. Horton had got his voucher and he had got a place to stay, and I said, man, I just need 2 weeks to stay there to get myself together. I had a plan. I didn't come and impose or anything. I had a plan. And he said, okay, sure. He came in and he said, well, if you got a plan, let's go ahead on and do it. And I was very thankful that he allowed me to stay there for 2 weeks. And then I caught the train and I moved to the Baltimore area. Whoa, rough, but it's cool. A lot of opportunity, but it's rough. So not cast in dispersion. So let's not go there. So you gotta look at the public officials. You really gotta look at them. Look at leadership. There's a problem anywhere. Look at leadership. I'm clear with that. Also, this guy brought me in, and we was gonna deal with financial literacy. Financial literacy, dealing with real estate, how to invest in cash, invest with and real estate without cash, credit qualifying loans. His name was Dennis Winkler. Yes, Dennis Winkler. So I came up here and I worked with him in administrative part as a communication development specialist, whatever term you want to use. Work with him. And as I worked with him, we had the Winkler Investor Group. And then we took a flight to Atlanta. Beautiful thing. Made a little money. Took a flight to Atlanta. Got some decent checks. And then that stopped. So because I was on Eden Place when I was interacting with him in that wise. Um, Prior to that, then I moved somewhere else. So steady moving, trying to find a place that I can say, well, this is my living, this is my place of residence, mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and spiritually. Yes, that I am comfortable with. So while I was there on this place, in place, I put these book of poems together. uh, I just went to it. I stepped to it with no hesitation because I have to create product and I have to keep on moving because if you don't push, nothing is going to happen. And I still have my up and down struggle with my vices or so forth and so on. You see, uh, those things seem to have subsided now. Yes, let's be clear. But this one point is called cringe. Cringe. Sing that love song to your mate. Subject yourselves to each other into submission. Love to see you subject yourselves to our whims. It is to our entertainment. Sister Rosetta Thorpe, an original rock and roller that rock, wanted to sing and play more conscious songs and lyrics. You better not. Now it has become your entertainment to your own demise. We benefit from your demise, fortune, and fame. We call it love songs. And the reason why I shared this particular piece because Rosetta Thorpe, true rock and roller. Look her up if you want to know it. She wanted to sing more conscious songs, and they said, "No, no, no, no. Sing what I tell you to sing. Sing what I tell you to sing." Now, in this poetic, artistic, creative, linguistic, artistic lecture, Chica Diop said it's here that the only difference is climatic that we have. Mm. Let's look at this for a minute. The birth of tragedy, or Hellenism. The birth of tragedy, Hellenism, hell. Hmm. It can be said that tragedy in its classical form, that in which it has been handed down to us in the typical Greek literary form, not to say the Aryan one, if it is easy to discern at the origin of all traditions in embryonic dramatic literature, the mysteries of Osiris, it was only among the Greeks that could be found a moral terrain propitious to the glorifying of the form and its elevation to the level of classicism, or classicism, elevated the form of tragedy, hell, trauma, drama. The content of Greek consciousness was and still remains the natural raw material of all tragedy. Anything that is forced on you is associated with becoming or being a what? A tragedy. Trauma, drama. Mama. Politically, socially, economically, academically, religiously, anything that is forced. We must think of the leading place occupied. That which occupies the mind, conditions the mind. That's just the nature of the mind. That which occupies the mind, conditions the mind. That's the nature of the mind. Criminal genetic society of people in their consciousness. It's criminal genetic. Occupies in their mind a strong feeling of crime or criminal activity, by or which of a social reaction is often expressed by a horror of murder, deceit, corruption, chaos, and confusion, trauma, drama, tragedy. The idea of guilt, which is corollary to it, the retention in the male conscious or the discoordinates, unfair relations of sexes. An unstable person becomes what is called aggressive. He or she seeks to make up for its deep feelings of insecurity and feelings of inadequacy, to be aggressive and become very violent and hostile. Where does the content of this consciousness come from? This thinking, this attitude, behavior? I never seen a people who have come out of what they call of slavery, how they can out-pope the Pope and out-act those who created this criminal act to think and behave in a way that create more drama, more harm, more injury, more damage, more disrespect, more hostility, more anxiety, more depression. We can outact them, outdo them, just to try to prove our legitimacy, as Dr. Clark would say. I never seen it. And you think it's cool. You accept it now. Your immediate situation has changed. Token, man. Token. And tokens ain't good anymore. The unfair relations. Okay. The social restraint of women. All these facts must be thought of if it were an art to understand that Greece was the chosen land of tragedy. I'm not downplaying anything or anyone. So if we have become, if we call black people become the face of all that is bad, and if we have chosen the fact to accept that and continue to perpetuate and promote the lie, the deceit, the deception, the chaos, the confusion, the criminal activity, everything is tied to drugs, alcohol, everything is tied to movie, press, television, everything is tied to it. Even the songs that we sing, a sad song, everything is sad, gloom and doom. What you gonna expect to come up on you? Only those things that what you put out there in the society. You acting like those. You are under the influence of those. I don't care if you're sci-fi, fraternity, sorority, Sigma Floyd, whatever you want to call yourself. It don't make no difference to me. Where all this come from? Who are you mimicking? Who are you modeling? Who are you imitating? I don't care what you say you believe in, what profession you say that you what faith you say that you profess. I says the only word I know is the word of integrity. The only authority I know is the authority of resiliency. The only truth I know is the truth is the cause that impacts and affects the results of my reality. And vanity is the enemy of consciousness. So you use your comedy. You know they allow these folks allow you to use your comedy so that you won't come at them in a certain way, that you will do harm and hurt. So they give you a means to express yourself, to let off your frustration, to let off your tension. And push come to shove, you wind up people letting off their frustration on one another. We got to realize that the folks sometimes we imitate, they were intra-conflict with one another. They had to create somebody else to kill. If not, they will kill ourselves. So go back to what Chica Diop says. The only difference is climatic, and that which occupies the mind, conditions the mind. That's the nature of the mind. Einstein said the same level of consciousness that created the problem won't solve the problem. Oh, listen. I know you know. I'm not in no mainstream society. I'm not the president woes who you try to live vicariously through someone because he is of the same hue with you. What does that mean? That he is of the same hue of you. What does black mean? And that you take out the word beat as the lack. What does that mean? What does white mean? There ain't nothing but conceptual term. Ain't nothing factual about it. So yes, this just is a artistic, theatric, creative, linguistic lecture of an expression. Yes, yes, just a beautiful thing, Um, I want to thank my ancestors, immediate ancestors, uh, uh, my uncle who uh, who had perished due to a form of an overdose, um, Richard, and my father, Richard, who was a military guy. I mean, my grandfather, Richard, I should say, who was a military guy, and my grandmother, Mary, and um, and my aunt Martha, um, and those who I know, Roxy, my aunt Roxy, was in New York, and many others who I do not know of my immediate ancestral pool. And excuse me, sorry about that. And yes, so I'm just standing on the shoulders of those who have went before me. I don't have any model as far as the way that I express myself and the knowledge that I read and what I delve into. I have no model, so I must become the model, and I deal with it. And I want to thank all those along the way. My mother, uh, who raised me, and my father, who raised me, and my sister, my brother, and and many others. Um, and thankful for this plane of existence. So just be grateful and thankful, and just man, be you. Believe in you. Believe in you. Booker T. Washington say, "Drop your buckets right where they are." Just believe in you, man, and nothing outside of you. Let nothing outside of you. No one else's thoughts or moods determine what they think and determine your mood. Just do things from your heart, man. As I don't give credit to a lot of sayings, but listen, there's a saying: just do it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily have to be right or whatever it is that you go for. How you gonna get it if you don't go for it? No, stay up and stay strong. Um, I was gonna say one more thing, but I'll let that one be. Until the next time, keep smiling. I think Sly says you caught me smiling. Yes. Keep on smiling. Smile. You don't have an Asian smile or an African smile or Arab smile, or English smile. Smile is still a smile. Yes, a smile is still a smile. Enjoy. Talk to you.